Welcome everybody to Nats Nation here on Rogers TV. And once again, we are joined from basements all across the city of London, as I am Kyle Gosley along with Zach Springer and Ryan Robinson, as we take our way through another episode here, boys. And this week, guys, we're going to be taking a look at a lot of the new players on the teams. And we'll start off with some of the new forwards on the roster here. Anyone that catch your eye?
Well, I figured Mr. Springer will take over the entire goalie section, so I guess I should lead something before I allow his expertise to chime in on everything. But I got a chance to kind of chat with a few of these guys so far, so it was kind of nice just to kind of get an idea of who's coming in. I think the interesting one for a lot of people will probably be, some people will be paying attention, especially to Cole Watson, because he went the U.S. approach, as opposed to, some of the players that, start up in the minor midget system, and they kind of, I guess you should get used to calling it U16 now, but going through the minor system with various teams. He decided to go the U.S. prep kind of option down in Connecticut last year. So for me, it's kind of going to be an interesting aspect to see what he brings. There's definitely some interesting, maybe bigger numbers as far as point production side of things, but he played 24 games, and especially in that U.S. prep system, sometimes he may not have gotten all the opportunities that he would want to. So 12 points in 24 games as a guy who's just coming into a brand new system is interesting. So he's definitely a name that I'd be kind of keeping an eye on the forward side, because they've got, I want to say, 5 or 6 new guys potentially on the forward unit this year. So there's going to be some opportunities, as we talked about last week.
One guy that kind of caught my eye would be Alex Laszlo, and that's because 2 seasons ago, he was actually affiliated with the team. He would have been a minor midget at that time, and I was playing on the team. So I, got to know him not that well, but at a few practices that he attended, I got to know him and skate with him. And so when I saw his name pop back up, I was pleasantly pleased that he'll be joining the Nationals for this season. And I really like his ability to defend. I think that he's a mobile guy, but I think that Pat will really be able to use him as kind of that 5-6 shutdown pairing, eating up valuable minutes on the penalty kill as well. He's a former Oshawa Generals 12th round pick, and I really think that he'll excel playing in his hometown, a team that he is, familiar with. I know sometimes walking into a new team, a new dressing room, new practice regimen can be daunting. I think he's a guy that is very used to Pat Powers and the way that Pat wants to play, and I think that will be beneficial for him. So I'm really excited to watch Alex Laszlo play this year, and he's the guy that kind of stuck out, caught my eye because I was familiar with the name and with the person.
The other name for me, too, is Michael Elliston, especially when I got a chance to chat with him a little bit. Familiarity with the program, familiarity with the league, having played with Strathroy a couple of times. I think I want to say 5, 6, 7 games kind of thing. But he also, he's had a bit of an inside scoop as far as how the team operates and kind of how Pat likes to operate things. Has played with George Diaco in the past, and we all know what Diaco did the last 2 years ago, I guess now. Just kind of how he contributed to the team, that sort of thing. So when I chatted with him, he kind of talked a lot about the fact that he and George have had a lot of conversations. He even said, I think, he goes, I wish he was still here, but I know he's happy to be in the situation he is now as well. So he's one of those point per game kind of area guys at the U18 level. So it's one of those things, we've all seen it, where it's sometimes point per game at the U18. It sometimes takes until the 19-year-old year before that same kind of production gets replicated. So for me, I look to see that what Mike Elliston brings to the team as well. So that's kind of another fun name and another kind of I think enjoyable factor we're going to have this year.
And last year, I just want to quickly touch on how the Nationals were able to refuel their team with the likes of Josh LeBlanc and Michael Boucher, 2 older guys that come over from the OJHL. Those guys were pretty successful in terms of point production in the OJHL. We see this year, though, 2 older players coming from the OJHL, likely attending Western, and will be suiting up for the Nationals as well. And that would be Thomas Harbour and Jared Fries. And, not guys that were, lighting it up in the OJ, However, two older bodies that, could definitely help with a bit of a retool as the Nationals lose a bunch of older players. They look to get a couple older players back, and two nice finds by Pat Powers and company to bring in and kind of plug in place into the Nationals pipeline.
How many times, though, have we seen this situation that guys that just didn't get the opportunity at, say, an OJHL level, all of a sudden come into the system, get an opportunity, and all of a sudden they become maybe what they wanted to, or maybe you start looking at that, that U16 year, and you kind of say, well, they were at this level, then they went to maybe a team in the OJHL that sometimes, and we've all seen it, doesn't matter what the team is, sometimes they just weren't handled correctly, maybe they weren't put in the right situation, and then all of a sudden they come into this national system, and somehow, some way, the Pat Powers way, he finds a way to kind of get that extra little boost out of them, and all of a sudden they become that potential of what they need, and that's why the Nationals have been so good for so long.
And one guy that comes to mind that kind of fits that description would be a James Turner, who played, in the OJHL for the Toronto Junior Canadiens for a season. He won at the midget AAA level a year prior to that. Didn't, necessarily put up a ton of points at the OJHL level. Comes to Western, comes to play for the Nationals for 2 seasons, and we all know he was a star, right? He put up, I believe, a point per game roughly both seasons, and if either of these two guys could do that for the Nats, it would be a similar storyline, and it would really be what the Nationals need in a year where they only have 2 20-goal scorers coming back.
And I know Kyle's going to be really excited if any of them can talk as well as James Turner. If we can get a few more of those James Turner type interviews, Mr. Gosley's life will be easier.
Instead of Turnerism this year, we'll have Harborism, so get ready for that.
We'll see if we can get these kids chatting sooner rather than later to help out Mr. Gosley.
Would be nice. Now, Zach, I know we just we're running a little low on time here, but just one thing is some of the goalies, bringing in 2 new goalies for the team. What do you expect out of the tenders in net?
Well, I'll start with the local goaltender first, and that would be Max Beckford, who played last year for Rumen Nadur with the Elgin Middlesex major midgets, and he's a London Knights draft pick, a former 10th rounder in the OHL priority selection. I actually watched him while on a scouting trip last season, and I can tell you that he moves exceptionally well. He's a goaltender that, you say athleticism, and that's really what he is. He's got a big frame, and he uses it to his advantage. He's able to kind of slide all around the net and beat passes east to west. So he's a guy who I could see eating up, certainly some valuable minutes, and definitely not a guy that I think Pat will be afraid to throw in the net. But the main story will certainly be Will Barber, and he's coming back to the GOJHL. That name might sound familiar for a lot of London Nationals fans, and that's because he played in Sarnia 3 seasons ago, and actually played against me. I believe I went head to head with him a couple times.
Hold on. Who got the W in that game?
November 29th, 2017. Will Barber was defeated by Zach Springer by a score of 5-3. I think,
and I guarantee you, he knows how many shots on goal that night too, because between the last few years of goaltenders for London Nationals, every single one of them I've learned pays attention to shots on goal and all the numbers that matter only to the goaltenders.
Well, I'll tell you, Ryan, the one thing that really sticks out is we were up 5-2, and they scored the 3rd goal really late in the game on a power play. And it was the big defenseman Scooch through a screen kind of from the half wall. And the next day,
Ben Schock, get it right. I screwed it up for 3 years.
The next day in practice, Pat calls me aside and goes, "What the heck happened on the 3rd goal?" And I just looked at him and I kind of rolled my eyes. I said, "I have no clue. Let's not talk about it." He goes, "Okay, we'll move on." But it was a really bad goal. Anyway, back to Will Barber though. He's a goaltender who he's part of the sub 6 feet club, so he's a friend of mine for sure. He moves very well also, but one thing that he's really adapted to, and I watched him a little bit when he played the last couple of seasons in the OJHL for the Oakville Blades, where he tore it up and had great numbers, and great win-loss records as well, is he's really adapted to getting places on his feet. I think that when he was in the GOJHL, it was his first taste of junior hockey, and you come from minor hockey, you're able to slide all over the place and beat the puck and make it look kind of fancy and show off. But one thing he's really done and matured with as a goaltender is he's able to stay on his feet, hold his edges a little bit longer, and beat passes where maybe earlier on in his junior career he wasn't able to do. So I think that Will is going to be an absolute stud for the Nationals. I think that similar to last season, how Brock Byer was for them. I think that Will can step right in and really fill those shoes. So I'm excited to watch him. I think that in some of the tougher matchups, he'll excel and maybe steal a point here or there for the Nats. But he's a goaltender. It's just kind of funny how it comes full circle where I played against him and then I kind of watched him scouting, and now I'll be able to call games that he's a part of. So I think that's really cool. We got to know him a little bit through SpringerCam, and I'm excited to definitely watch him as the season kind of develops.
Now, just one last question is the way I know you brought up the Brock Byer thing from last year. They got him late in the season. Is that going to be a big difference having a goaltender who can really just take the load right off the bat this year?
Well, I think so. The last time the Nationals had that, it was a guy, what was his name? Zach Springer. And I think that, what?
That kid was all right. I'll tell you that much.
He was just okay. Just okay.
You know what? Pat went out. He got his guy. I believe Will. I know that Will is attending Western University as well. So, Pat was able to recruit him to the Nationals program, and it's going to be a great fit.
Awesome. It will be exciting to see how he plays along with the rest of the Nationals newcomers. And now that you mentioned Pat Powers, we get a chance to talk to him after the break, as well as Will Barber. You mentioned his height. Now, you talk about that in SpringerCam as well, Zach. We'll get a chance to look at that as well. We'll be back in just a few minutes here on Nats Nation. Welcome back to Nats Nation here on Rogers TV. We are now joined by General Manager and Head Coach of the London Nationals, Pat Powers. First off, I know how last season ended kind of just disappointing with how the season was just cut off by the league itself. How has that gone into preparation for this season?
It's kind of been a bit of a never-ending process. Once COVID kind of shut our season down last year in the playoffs, we were kind of hopeful for the first couple of weeks that things would get going again, and obviously as time has shown that that didn't happen, and so we kind of just moved right away into just looking forward to this year, and a bit of an earlier start than we've had in the past years of getting started on our team building. Then as kind of things progressed throughout the summer and things kept getting pushed back and camps were getting canceled and exhibition games were kind of kiboshed. It's just kind of been a never-ending kind of sit, wait, and see. And right now we're practicing 2 to 3 times a week, just trying to keep the guys somewhat on the ice and somewhat in shape. But we know interest can kind of wane if answers don't kind of come sooner than later.
And now, with that being said, how has your preparation changed coming into this season? Now that you've had that a prolonged period of time for when the season normally starts, like a month ago, and then it won't start for still a little bit going forward.
Well, we haven't really got into any sort of like team systems or anything like that. Or we've got Cohen Kiteley named as our captain. Usually, obviously, we'd have our entire leadership group, but we know things change. Players' interests change kind of throughout a process like this, where they're university students or the grade 12 students, what have you, and their interest can kind of change. So it's been challenging to build a team in this environment because, like I said, sometimes you're anticipating kids coming back, but their interests change for one reason or another. Maybe they move on to the world of work, or they move into a league, into a province that actually is playing games. So it has been difficult. It's been kind of stressful in a lot of different ways. But everything is essentially just been kind of paused, kind of, so to speak, where you might have jumped on players earlier, you might have what have you, but right now we don't really know what's going on. So any player we sign right now, we have to pay the release for, whether there's a season or not. So that's kind of dictated a little bit with in terms of how teams have gone about building.
Now, in building the team itself, you guys lost a lot of that leadership core, as well as the a lot of the high-end offense that you guys had going like after last season. Of all the players that you have remaining, who are you looking to really pick up that like the offensive burden this year?
Well, I think Eric Guess has got to do that. I mean, he's obviously an extremely talented young man who is, I think, still has quite a bit of motivation. Hopefully, to play university hockey after this year. I think Cohen Kiteley has just been a very quiet point accumulator, and he usually gets those points at very opportunistic times. So definitely looking forward to him. I think Michael McKnight is going to come back and have an outstanding year. I mean, I could see him getting 30, 35, 40 goals this year. I mean, he's just a tremendous athlete with good work ethic and a good attitude. So I think you'd see a guy like that definitely take steps in the next direction. We brought in a couple guys from the OJHL, and Thomas Harbour, I think, is a guy who skates extremely well, competes very hard. So I think he's a guy that we can look to. And then on the back end, Rudy Scott has had an outstanding year where, I mean, he's lost a considerable amount of weight. His footwork looks extremely good, and his motivation has changed now too. And he wants to play university hockey after this upcoming hockey season too. So it's kind of amazing sometimes how guys' attitudes change for the better, whereas sometimes guys' attitudes change for the worse. So Rudy's a guy whose attitude is definitely as good of an attitude as he had last year, which was outstanding. He is definitely come back highly motivated. So we're looking forward to him kind of being a real key contributor as well too.
Now, between the pipes, there's a whole new goaltending tandem for you guys this year. What do you expect out of your goaltenders?
Well, Will Barber comes into our team, and he has, I mean, he was one of the top young rookie goaltenders for the Legionnaires there a couple years ago before moving on to the Oakville Blades, where he was arguably one of the best goaltenders in the league there last year. So he was originally committed to go to St. Mary's University of the Atlantic University Sport Conference to be a goaltender for those guys, and that's a real top program out there. But with COVID happening, he decided he wanted to stay closer to home, and with university hockey not getting started until at least January, he just thought it'd be better to kind of get his academics going at Western. So I think he's a guy that we are going to lean on very heavily. Max Beckford has been he's been outstanding in camp so far. He's a big goaltender. He's athletic. We got to know him a little bit last year just through the affiliate player process, but I mean, he's an intimidating figure in the net. Takes up a lot of net. Real good athlete. Real good work ethic. So I think you'll definitely see good things out of him as well too.
Have the expectations going into the season changed at all? I know mostly for you guys, it's always Sutherland Cup or bust. Is that the same as always?
Absolutely. I mean, our goal never changes. We've gone through, I mean, last year we had a little bit of a younger team in terms of kind of the bottom half of our lineup. Top half of our lineup was still quite loaded, but I think those guys learned a very valuable lesson, and a lot of those guys who are coming back are going to be looked to kind of carry that torch and move above and beyond. And even the guys last year, I mean, obviously we didn't win it. There was no Sutherland Cup, but they still feel like there's unfinished business like there has been for the last couple of years. So they're highly motivated, and a lot of these guys are going to be moving on to hopefully bigger and better things after this year. So we hope to finally get business taken care of.
Awesome. Really looking forward to seeing what this team can put up when they actually get on the ice soon, hopefully.
Good.
Yeah. Thanks for the time, Pat.
Thank you.
Now we're going to switch gears as we head over to SpringerCam, where Zach takes a peek at what some of the players did at quarantine, but that quickly devolves into a plethora of other topics, from fashion and to height. And it's hard to explain. You'll have to check it out.
We're back for another edition of SpringerCam, except I'm not allowed to go inside. I'm not allowed to get close to the players, so I'm going to have to use this. Producer Scotty had this in his basement. Boy, I haven't held one of these in a while. Let's go catch up with the guys. Tell me one exciting thing you did during your quarantine.
There's not a lot to do, but I guess just I've been working out a lot this summer with my buddy, the captain of Kamoka Kings, Blake McConnell Barker, and we've just been working out a lot, so I guess I really got into that, and yeah, I guess that's fun.
Favorite memory throughout quarantine? Oh, I don't know. Me and my family had a couple of game nights, couple of murder mystery nights, and just hung out as a family, so that was always fun.
What'd you get up to in quarantine?
Staying with family, working the summer. I'm trying to stay on the ice like once or twice, like back home. Just trying to stay active and in hopes the season was going to start at some time. So
I took the first 2 months off just to stay inside, and then I got a job, full-time job in the summer. Worked there for all summer, pretty much all of quarantine until hockey started up again.
What do you think of Michael McKnight's shoes behind you?
Oh, it's brutal. No, He's got the worst style on the team. Looking at some of the new guys, it's okay, but Knighter's always been lacking in the style category. So.
How did you get a rip in your pant leg?
Oh, I don't even know, honestly. That's just old pants, probably from work. You know, I don't even know.
That's okay.
Yep.
And then the shoes?
The shoes.
I gotta ask because
for the same thing.
I know we asked Kiteley. He doesn't like your shoes,
Yeah, I know.
but he was wearing the same shoes.
I know, it doesn't make sense.
Nationals with a new goalie this year. Who's taller, Will Barber or Zach Springer?
Zach Springer for sure.
Wow. There's not many goalies I'm taller than, so I'll take that one. Now I have a question. Who's taller, new goaltender Will Barber or past goaltender Zach Springer?
Oh, the new goalie guy for sure.
The new guy.
You're always a small guy.
We're gonna have to go back to back then because
No.
Castle said me.
No, you're the smallest goalie I think we've had in a while.
Producer Scotty, can we go pano view to see who's taller? Will or myself? I think he's got me beat, but just to show everyone, Zach Springer still the shortest past London Nationals goalie in history. I wear it. We're gonna have to wrap this up because this mic is getting awfully heavy to carry. Thank you so much, Will.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks, Zach. We'll be back with more Nats Nation after the break. Welcome back to Nats Nation here on Rogers TV. In this week's Player Focus, Zach Springer is going to take a look at one of the few returning 20-goal scorers of the London Nationals, Eric Guest. Zach, what do you have to say about Eric Guest's game?
Well, he is the second returning 20-goal scorer next to Cohen Kiteley, who we kind of shined a spotlight on last week. You know what, Eric, his greatest strength is his goal scoring ability, and I think he showcases two things within his kind of goal scoring prowess. And the first would be the smarts of always being in the right place on the ice to give himself a chance at getting those opportunities. I think he developed a really good chemistry with his line mates last year, especially Henry Scott, who seemed to be able to find him all the time alone in the slot. And just the ability to kind of get away from coverage, slip into areas that are maybe a bit softer when you're watching the game, but turn out to be just as deadly because once the puck finds his stick, it's usually bang, bang right into the back of the net, which kind of brings me to his second skill, which is once he does get the puck in, an in-tight scoring spot or somewhere where he has a good chance alone with the goaltender, he's able to raise that puck really quickly or put it in a spot where the goaltender isn't necessarily able to save it. So I think his two biggest strengths are the ability to have the smarts to slip into goal scoring areas and slip out of coverage, and then secondly to actually be able to elevate the puck extremely quickly, get it off his stick in a very fast manner, and then just find ways to score. Not everyone who gets good scoring chances is able to bury those chances. So I think when you complement, the smarts of getting into the right spaces on the ice with actually being able to finish, it's really deadly. And I expect him, Kyle, to be able to pot, 30 to 40 this year, perhaps. I think he's a player that could have, really shine as an overage in the GOJHL. I think that again, just when you're able to score and you're an older player, as he'll be in his last year, his overage season, I think that's just something that will set him up for success. So I really believe he's going to have a dynamite year for the Nats.
Now, Zach, is he going to have to change his game a bit, considering last season he did play on that middle six role? Now he's going to have those top line minutes most likely. Is that going to change his game at all?
Well, I think what the coaches will be tasked with is actually kind of finding players that can complement his skill set and set him up. I think he's a really good player to fill into a top six role because I think that he's able to play against the other team's top line as well. So I think that, if Pat Powers and company are able to find players that can get him the puck and get him the puck in good scoring chances, I think he'll have a lot of success. I'm not as worried about him. I would be more worried just with, who he'd be surrounded by. I think a player like Michael McKnight, who has great vision, would be someone that he could be really, a good pair with on a top six forward position. So I really do think that it's his ability gives him a chance to be just dynamite, and the coaches are going to have to surround him with players that can get him the puck and put him in good chances, good scoring chances.
Thank you once again, everybody, for watching here on Nats Nation, here on Rogers TV, and we will see you guys next time.